Kell Brook has confirmed the comeback without saying a single name. A massive fight is coming, and the guess is Chris Eubank Jr. So it's important to establish, why is Kell Brook coming back? Why? Does he need the money, or is it purpose driven? And the next big thing, and this is a huge thing, is who is in the corner? Who is in the corner? If Dominic Ingle is in the corner, then I'm far less concerned, because Dominic Ingle has a tremendous wealth of experience. If Dominic Ingle isn't in the corner, then I am concerned. And then the next thing after that, and this is really crucial, is who is he fighting? If, for example, he's fighting Chris Eubank Jr., that could be a competitive fight. It could be a good fight. But if he's fighting a young, audacious, upcoming lion, then that could turn out badly. And that's something that the British fans in particular would not like to watch. The point is this: matchmaking is key in this comeback. If Dominic Ingle is in the corner, there is, figuratively speaking, safe hands. And if Chris Eubank Jr. fights Kell Brook, who is the favourite? Kell Brook looks sensational in his last fight against Amir Khan. But Chris Eubank Jr., how did he look? He looked tired, dehydrated, unmotivated, and extraordinarily flat. This could be a relatively big fight in Britain. It could be a big fight if the marketing is done correctly. So I guess here a comeback is not dangerous because of age alone. It becomes dangerous when purpose, matchmaking, and guidance are wrong. And then the next idea is that no one can call it. Apparently, some feel it's a 50-50 fight. But is it a 50-50 fight? And is a 50-50 fight more valuable to boxing than a world title fight? This fight is not just big or potentially big because it's 50-50. Let me explain. It's big because of the branding. It's big because of the branding of both boxers. Kell Brook was a great British champion. His last fight, of course, was settling a rivalry with Amir Khan, another great fighter. Chris Eubank Jr. was a respected contender that had a scintillating fight with Conor Benn. It was a great piece of marketing, but the first fight was a totally, absolutely vicious affair. And also Chris Eubank Jr.'s dad was a great champion and very well respected. When you put these ingredients together, that really gets the public's attention. And I think the appropriate context is important here, because the public does not buy uncertainty alone. It buys uncertainty attached to names, history, and emotion. And then the next idea is that Brook is 40. He's 40 and he hasn't fought in 4.5 years. And it barely matters, the logic. Well, what is the logic? The logic is that Eubank's last performance, respectively speaking, was bad. Of course, there are questions about Kell Brook. How much does he have left? Does he still have that great jab? Does he still have that great timing? But there are massive questions on Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr. identity, think of it, his identity was of a pressure fighter and that of an iron chin. Subtract the pressure, subtract the iron chin. What do you have? The rehydration clause in the rematch and in the first fight made him additional millions, but that may have cost him additional millions in later parts of his boxing career, because in the rematch with Conor Benn, he simply could not make the right adjustments. He started the fight, Chris Eubank Jr. started the fight looking angry. He looked very angry, but then he finished the fight looking ambiguous. I don't want to say looking defeated, but his body language in the first fight and the body language in the second fight, the comparison is night and day. And it was, like I said, it was ambiguous. It was a weird experience. To his credit, though, when Chris Eubank Jr., when he hit the floor, he got back up. But it looked like Chris Eubank Jr. was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, and perhaps from his perspective, he was carrying the weight of the world. And another concern with Chris Eubank Jr. is who is the trainer? Because the lack of consistency and the lack of leadership is definitely a red flag. Because sometimes the biggest question is not what a fighter has left, it is whether he still knows who he is.